Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A quick reminder of our top stories now. President Buhari reaffirms his commitment to ending insecurity in the country, insists he will not disappoint Nigerians in delivering on his 3 key promises to the citizens. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka calls for caution on the Ruga settlement program, says issue is explosive and must be handled with care. National Assembly resumes legislative activities as President of the Senate announces principal officers in the upper legislative chamber. China wades into yesterday's violence in Hong Kong, accuses protesters of illegal actions that trample on the rule of law. For more information on our top stories and others, please visit our website. It's channelstv.com, and youtube.com/channelsweb has videos of our shows. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news and updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app have an eyewitness feature that you can use to share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app and tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. We have some of the stories that you sent in our eyewitness portal concerning roads, beginning with this video from the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway showing the poor state of the road. Our eyewitness reporter who sent this in from Songo says that motorists go through so much trouble using this road every day. He laments the state of the road is the reason for high transport fare. He wants the federal government to do something about this road after several years of being abandoned. Next is this image from Iyano Aboru, around the Iyano Ipaja area of Lagos State, showing this flooded road. Aside from the flood, our eyewitness reporter expresses worry over the washing of debris into people's homes. Finally, and still on road infrastructure, is this image from Asaba, the Delta State capital, showing what this road at the Summit Junction looks like. According to our eyewitness reporter, this is what the road looks like during the rainy season. He wants the state government to come to their aid. We do sincerely thank you for sending in these images, as we ask that you keep them coming. Let's now focus on the 9th National Assembly and its agenda. We're now being joined for further discussions by the, live from our Abuja studios, of course, by 2-time House of Representative member, Mr. Babajimi Benson. I want to thank you so much indeed for joining us on the News at 10. Well, it does appear that the 9th National Assembly members are poised to hit the ground running from day one, especially with yesterday when we heard that challenge to the executive asking for the 2020 appropriation bill. What's behind this new level of enthusiasm, if you will?
Thank you very much for having me on the studio. As you may well know, a private sector budget runs from January to December. So meaning that private sector always sets the tone for what's going to happen in the next fiscal year. So we believe that for the next level program that we're going to be introducing, we believe that we also need to reset the way budgets are being planned and implemented in Nigeria. So we've asked the executive to kindly submit their MTEF within the next 2 weeks, and also prepare to submit the budget by September, so that we can also be in sync with the private sector. If we can plan a January-December budget cycle, it will allow the private sector and the public sector focus, forecast, and plan for the year in view, that is 2020. So we believe that that is what Nigerians deserve, and we believe that that will reset the economy and open Nigeria up for big business to come.
Mr. Benson, a lot of people wonder how this is going to play out, because the leadership of the 9th Assembly has said that the lawmakers would not be a rubber stamp to the executive. How would the lawmakers avoid a possible conflict with regards to budget, considering the usual tendency by the lawmakers to adjust estimates from the executive, which has happened time and again?
No, I believe adding value to the lives of Nigerians wouldn't create conflict. We believe that the budget cycle by ensuring that both houses and executive are in sync, and the budget is presented early and passed early as well, so that we have a January to December cycle. Won't be a disadvantage, won't create rancor, would only create one thing, would add value to the lives of Nigerians, would make business easy, will make forecasting for private sector and public sector easy. And more so, luckily, both houses have APC representatives, and the government in power, the executive, is also an APC government. And so I think that synergy should also mean something for the lives and well-being of Nigerians.
Well, Mr. Benson, as it stands now in the nation, if you look at the polity and what is happening, there are some burning issues at the moment. For instance, in security, the Ruga settlement, which is just popping up a couple of days ago. How will this assembly tackle these issues?
Yeah, insecurity has always been with us. Insecurity has also been one of the planks in which this administration won the election, the last election. The current government has also prioritized security. As you can see, our 9th Assembly may also prioritize the issue of state police. It's something we are also going to look at very critically. The Ruga settlement has been a recurring issue. It's been on the front burner, but it is something that hasn't been presented to us in the National Assembly. It is something we're meeting behind us to discuss. And very soon, I'm sure the leadership will present its own position on that matter.
A two-time House of Representative member, Mr. Babajimi Benson, I most sincerely thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10. The police have rescued the father-in-law to President Muhammad Buhari's aide-de-camp, Musa Umar, who was kidnapped 2 months ago. Police authorities say the Magajin Garin Daura, that's the clan head of Daura, was rescued in Kano. He was abducted in his Daura residence in Katsina North local government area shortly after observing the evening prayers. The attackers had shot sporadically to disperse the crowd and picked the traditional ruler, who is a retired customs controller and the father of Fatima Musa, wife of Colonel Muhammad Abubakar, the aide-de-camp to President Muhammad Buhari. You're watching the News at 10, Channels Television, reaching you live from Lagos. Let's switch over to our Abuja studios now, where Ibrahim Adra is standing by to take us through a couple of more stories. Ibrahim, good to see you.
Good to see you, Gimba, and thank you for joining us. Now, ahead of the November 16, 2019 governorship election in Bayelsa and Kogi states, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is expressing concerns over the safety of INEC officials, properties, and the sanctity of the electoral process. Professor Yakubu says there is need for electoral offenders to be prosecuted swiftly in order to serve as deterrent to others. He therefore advocates the establishment of an electoral offences tribunal. The INEC chairman was speaking at a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Abuja.
As the Independent National Electoral Commission continues its review meeting of the 2019 general elections, the chairman of the electoral body is worried by the level of violence in some parts of the country as the commission prepares for governorship election in the states of Bayelsa and Kogi.
As we review the 2019 general elections, we must also pay attention to the forthcoming off-season elections. The Bayelsa and Kogi governorship elections are scheduled to hold on Saturday, 16th November 2019. Given the history of political violence resulting in the governorship elections declared inconclusive in the two states in 2015, the Commission is concerned about the safety of our personnel, properties, and the sanctity of the electoral process.
From the assessment of the Commission, insecurity as a result of violent disruption of electoral processes is largely responsible for inconclusive elections. It is for this reason that the chairman renews the call for the establishment of an electoral offences tribunal.
Proven misconduct must be dealt with according to the law. This is one of the surest ways to address impunity and instill sanity in the electoral process. The truth is that democracy and credible elections will be deepened while electoral offenders are swiftly prosecuted.
The co-chairman of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security allays the fears of the INEC chairman as he reels out statistics of arrest and prosecution made by the committee.
During the last election, 58 high-profile arrests were made. 25 were during the presidential and National Assembly election. 17 during the gubernatorial election, and 14 others. Out of these 58, 39 offenses were conclusively concluded, investigated and concluded, and charged to court, while 19 are pending.
The meeting, which continued behind closed doors, is aimed at taking measures to checkmate the activities of election offenders, in addition to identifying potential threats to future elections.
Let's head to the court now. The Hope Democratic Party has filed a fresh application to be allowed to amend the already existing witness statement on oath because there are clerical errors on the witness statement. But the respondents, which include President Muhammadu Buhari, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and All Progressives Congress, requested for 7 days to respond to the application, which they say they intend to oppose. In a bench ruling, however, the tribunal gave the respondents 3 days to respond to the application, while counsel to the HDP, Mr. Chukwunonyerem Njoku, has 2 days within which to respond to their response, if he so wishes. The parties in the suit also agreed on the structure of the hearing of the main petition filed by the HDP and its presidential candidate, Mr. Ambrose Oworu. Pre-trial hearing was then adjourned to 10th of July to hear the application filed by the HDP and another application by INEC seeking to dismiss the petition filed by the HDP for being incompetent, meaningless, frivolous, and an abuse of court process. Stay with the judiciary. A federal high court sitting in Lagos has granted an application filed by former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, seeking permission to travel abroad for medical treatment. The court ordered the immediate release of his international passport. Justice Chukwujeku Aneke granted this application after the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission rearraigned the former governor on Tuesday over allegations of laundering 6.9 billion naira. Justice Aneke took over the case from Justice Mojisola Olaterogun after 13 witnesses had testified and the EFCC accused her of bias. Mr. Fayose was first arraigned last October the 22nd on an 11-count charge of receiving and keeping 1.2 billion naira and $5 million stolen funds from the Office of National Security Advisor, contrary to the Money Laundering Act. He pleaded no guilty to the charges. Justice Aneke ordered that Fayose must return his international passport to the court on or before the next adjourned date of September the 16th. Time for a break now. The British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Katriona Leng, and NNPC GMD Mekanti Baru raised critical issues in Nigeria's oil and gas sector at the conference in Abuja. That's on Business News. And China describes yesterday's Hong Kong violent protest as violation of rule of law. That will be coming from our London Bureau in Around the World in 5. Do stay with us.